In fact, let me go over here and see what our great tree godfather said about this. He said, women don't belong in the military. And I want to read this because it just fits perfectly, comports with my position. It lowers competency, 100%. Absolutely. In fact, we've got them now, Hexeth talking about they're going to raise the standards. And I mentioned this the last time we were together. They're going to raise the standards for females. Again, they had lowered the standards so that the girls could cut it. They're going to raise the standards again. When they're talking big, I want to witness all of the girls being washed out. I want to see that. I want footage of the girls getting washed out. Big talk doesn't mean to me. So let's see those standards raised. How'd you like to that, guys, in the military, that the girl at your pay grade gets to do in the same job, gets to do less at that job because she's female. And check this out for yourself. Maybe I'm wrong. The ear's against the door. And she doesn't have the same physical standards test that she has to pass. But she's going to get paid the same. She's got to be respected more. And I'll get to what the tree godfather says, because I know it's 100%. And I agree 100%. So ruins combat unit cohesion. Does anybody remember? They probably don't. Does anybody remember General Schwarzkopf? And General Schwarzkopf, when he was leading the entire United States military, said of women in combat, and he, to a lesser degree in another statement, intimated kind of the same thing with homosexuals in combat roles, that they ruin combat cohesion. And he gave exactly the reasons why they ruin combat cohesion. And it's kind of obvious. It's obvious to sane white people why they would ruin, because everybody is screwing and cliques form around which girl is screwing which guys. And then, of course, the girls want to bed down the guys with the authority that can then give them the freedom to do what they want and to not have to complete the jobs that would have gone to them, and instead put the burden on other guys. You end up with jealous rivalries in the units, absolutely destroying combat cohesion, combat effectiveness, 100%. Of course, I have to say it's my opinion, because the anti-white girls out there are going to say, that's not true. I've watched Marvel movies. The girls are badass. They ruin the unit cohesion and therefore combat readiness. He adds here, makes combat effectiveness a joke, leads to too many people having intercourse instead of doing their jobs. I mean, one of the biggest jokes in the military is the watch. They practically done away with the watch in these co-ed dorms. Because they're just everywhere people are having sex. I can imagine there are some good girls in the military, especially the ones that get away, but the vast majority, boy, they're going through the barracks. I can tell you, they are going through the barracks. They want to get pregnant. They want to set up these power dynamics among the guys so that they have more power. It's bad. It is really bad. And he finishes up here with, they are not biologically evolved, females, not biologically evolved for leadership, and men aren't biologically evolved to follow them. 100%. Men are not biologically, spiritually meant and able to follow female leadership. You can't follow what you can. That's the bottom line. You cannot take the light, especially life and death orders in a combat environment, from something you need leadership for men has to be badass men. It has to be. Because that inspires men, our very existence. And this is why we've talked about it before. This sensation that we get that women cannot feel. Maybe there are some women that can feel an inkling of it, but nothing the same. And all the guys know what it is. And that really is, you see it in boys that are becoming, transitioning to, well, they would become men if it weren't muted by anti-whiteism, if it weren't dulled by anti-whiteism. And we know what it is because we end up feeling the most emotions that we could fathom at the thought of fighting for the tribe with our brothers. It can't be any other way, because the people that would be, the men that would be, or the guys, the males that would have made it through the maelstrom of the competitions with other tribes of people could only be those guys. The guys that don't feel the tears welling up in their eyes at the thought of being in an environment where you're with your brothers and some of your brothers are dying and you might die, and some of them are getting maimed and you might be maimed. There's nothing that a guy feels that is as beautiful as fathoming that moment, that horror. Now, why would that be? Because it is our imperative as a male in our tribe to protect the tribe, to protect our people, to ensure that our people continue, even if the genes in our individual body does not, because we die on that field. Does that make sense? Women can hear about combat, and I mean, over all the years I've witnessed this so many times, and they can cry at somebody's son dying in conflict. That's no different than somebody's son dying in a car crash. Some mother and father lost their son, and I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that at all. I'm saying it's just different. It's entirely, it is incomprehensible to women. Why? Because women live for themselves and very young offspring of theirs. Men live for the tribe. Men live for their people.